and we had our moments. We got back into the game. We had that run when Stewie was guarding Caitlin Clark, but then they executed well. And, we had so many breakdowns on defense, and they made shots. They really punished us on that end, making, 17 threes from 35. It was just too wide open. So a little lack of communication. We had to obviously work these two, probably overworked them tonight. But, a lot of things that we can learn. And like I said before the game, we're nowhere near where we need to be.
Seems like Sabrina, you and Caitlin are both, some of the best shooters in this game. We're exchanging threes throughout the first half. I mean, when a shooter gets into that rhythm like she did, I guess, to see that after missing so many games, how impressive is that? And how defeating is when you're trying to catch up and they just keep making.
I mean, it's not defeating. Basketball's a game that runs in the same way like we go on runs, they do as well. They're a great team. So I don't think it's defeating. I think obviously we know what a great shooter she is, and I think we just gave her too many easy ones. Obviously, she has great range, and her ability to get her shot off is really impressive, especially with missing some games. And so obviously on a personal level, I'm really happy to see her back out on the court, healthy, feeling good, because obviously it's important for them, but just for her, I'm happy she's back.
And Brianna's message to the team after tonight's game on what you thought they needed to hear, I guess.
I mean, my message to the team was to keep your heads up. I mean, we are now 10 games into the season and we have a long ways to go. But, there was a few games early on where we kind of squeaked out wins. We got away with some things and we ended up with the win. And a loss is an opportunity for everyone to kind of look at themselves in the mirror and really focus and lock in on the things that we need to get better. And this is a long season. So to think that anybody's going to go undefeated throughout the entire thing is like impossible.
We'll turn it over to Zoom, starting with Andrew.
Thank you, Ryan. Coach, just want to ask you what you thought about your team shot selection and just those threes that Sydney Colson hit. I mean, normally she doesn't hit those threes well. You just talk about those two elements there.
Yeah, look, obviously, we had to rely on these two players here, and we didn't get to the rim. Early in the game we did. I think we had about 32 points in the paint in the first half, and we didn't get as many open ones as we did in the second half, and that's on the coaching staff. We've got to make it a little bit easier for them in that regard. But they're switching. They were very disrupted. They were very physical, and we've got to be a better job at executing that. What was the other question?
Sydney
It's
Colson.
about Colson.
Oh, Sydney Colson. Look, we had so many breakdowns on defense. We had some great moments, and then we had some really poor moments. We just overhelped off the corners for no reason there. We didn't have the second efforts to close out. And, obviously all players, they're pros for a reason. Everyone can make a shot. And, obviously Sophie made a few and Colson made a few and Hull and they're the daggers. So we can be better. And it's like we said, it's 10 games in. It's opportunity for us to reflect, to review, and then make sure we have better execution next game.
We'll go to Jackie.
Hi all. I've got one for each player, if that's all right. Sabrina, when you all are spending the majority of a game down, how do you think the offense gets a little bit rushed and that maybe leads to a little bit less passing and more just quick shot making or taking rather?
I think it's not necessarily when we're down. I think it's just when we're not getting stops, and we don't necessarily play the score. I think it's just when we're having to take the ball out of the basket and we don't have our transition and push and flow. I think that's when we break down a little bit. And so I would say this is great learning for us to just be able to understand when things aren't going well, and things are a little clunky offensively and defensively, how we can stay together and figure out ways to get easier looks for one another. And, I didn't think we did a great job of that tonight. And obviously, like Stewie said, we got a lot of games left to be able to continue to improve in that area.
And Stewie, you sort of talked about reflecting and looking in the mirror. You're one of the leader, both of you are the leaders on this team. I'm just curious, what's something that coming off of this, that you have to do better going forward?
Like individually or as a team?
Well, both.
I mean, Individually, I think just making better reads off the switches. They made it really difficult because they were just like there was just constantly somebody there and trying to find an opening to get downhill or to find somebody else. And then collectively, like our defense, I think we should take pride in that a little bit more. And they had like 53 at half and finished with 102, so it doesn't really seem like we were guarding much.
Thank you.
We'll go back to Matt.
Really the Commissioner Cup, obviously today's loss has implications on the standings. How just reaction to that, I guess, like, how do you feel about that?
Well, it is what it is. There's something that we can change. It's would love to be there, and obviously we're going to have some massive help on our side. But in the end, it's about being the best team at the end of the season, and that's what we got to make sure that we continue to focus on.
We'll go to Miles.
Hi, all. Sabrina, I've got one for you. Sandy alluded to the 32 points in the paint in the first half and then just 12 after the break. First two drives of the third quarter, Tosh gets to the rim, you get to the rim. And then there's that 19-0 run where it just felt like Indiana was dictating what you guys were able to get from a shot perspective. What did they change in terms of aggressiveness, in terms of coverages that took you guys out of your groove a bit there?
Yeah, I mean, I think they switched obviously a lot the entirety of the game, but they just plugged holes and plugged gaps and, made it really difficult to get downhill and into the paint. We got to the free throw line well. I think continuing to hit shots. I mean, obviously it's hard to win a game shooting 20% from the 3-point line. So we didn't shoot the ball well. We know we're really capable of being able to knock down the three, and when we do that, it opens up the paint. So I think obviously having to kind of be able to understand that this wasn't a great game for us, but continuing to find ways to get into the paint, either for a finish or just a kick out three, is our best offense.
We'll go to Jeff.
Thank you. Hello, all. Sorry it didn't go your way tonight. My question is for Brianna. You mentioned the 10-game landmark. What's one thing you've learned about this team so far, and what perhaps do they do better than last year's team at this point of the year, and where could you find some improvement?
Yeah, I think we're resilient. I think that, when things get tough, we kind of embrace that. And, tonight things got tough and we weren't able to kind of get ourselves out of that hole that we were in. But, now it's about the response and what we're going to do tomorrow, what we're going to do Monday. And I think that, if you compare it to last year, years past, sometimes like that got a little bit shaky because we would just kind of crumble a little bit. And I'm confident in us. We know who we are and how talented we are. And we know we just have to get back to work.
Appreciate your time and insight. Thank you.
We'll finish with Kenny.
Hey everyone, sorry it didn't go your way. This one's for Coach. As a team that prides itself on defense, what needs to improve after allowing 102 points?
Yeah, well, individually and collectively, we just got to be better. And the second efforts, obviously, we missed. We've got some pretty key players missing in Leo, and JJ, which is massive for us. But the experience is always going to help all of us and staff included. And where can we be more physical? Where can we have small second efforts? What do we kind of give up? Areas where we're not quite there. We've had moments. We had some really good moments in this game too, but not consistently great for long enough periods to stop a really good team.
And can you just speak about Kennedy's performance today? I know it was a little tough for her stepping into Leo's role. What did you see from her today?
Yeah, look, she gave what, she gave and she worked hard. She didn't make her shots like she had in the past, but we probably should have activated her a little bit more. Clark was on her and put her in the action. But look, it's a great experience. She's in a situation she hasn't been with us for a while. And Niara, I thought Niara had some really good moments for us as well. And in the long term, that all pays off because the more experiences they get, that we can lean into the team that we have.
Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, everyone.